Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us.
Welcome to the Why Does My Partner podcast. I'm Jules.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met at a training, and our secret sauce is that we and our partners became fast friends.
Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients.
We're going to bring those questions here, and together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions.
This podcast is not a substitute for couples therapy. If something you hear in this podcast stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We'd also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com to leave a question of your own. Here's today's question. Why does my partner avoid conflict?
Ooh, this one happens all the time, doesn't it?
So
So
much.
many possibilities. Should I just start rattling them off?
Go ahead.
Just go. Yep. Here are the whys that could be happening. Vicky, take it away.
They never saw it growing up. They learned that it can be bad and people can get hurt. They're scared of your reaction. I didn't have as many as I thought I did.
They are unsure of exactly what it is that is problematic for them. They are peacemakers and learned that the real way to make trust happen is to have no conflict at all. They got sold the bill of goods from Hollywood that the perfect relationship has no errors or sticky
Ding,
spots
ding,
in it. Ding, 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 ding. Right. No discord of any kind.
None.
Conflict and discord is messy, right? And like
It is.
being able to be inside of that discomfort is something that not everyone has a nervous system that knows how to do that.
Yeah, and it takes practice,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Can
A lot of us
you- Yeah.
have never had the practice growing up.
No. Rebecca, can you translate everything you just said, like about the nervous system and stuff, into
Into English?
I don't know. English. I didn't
Yeah.
want to say that word, but yes. Like, I kind of knew what you were talking about, and I got kind of lost.
I think I'm doing this a lot more lately, so it's okay that you're getting lost. I think you're actually helping me like find my words too, which is probably important because what I'm talking about, and I've been talking about this, I think, for the past few episodes, but what I'm talking about is this like felt sense of like how we get to know ourselves and how we live inside of our bodies and what it feels like to be in relationship with other people, like what those when we take in information from the world, we're taking that information inside our bodies. We're digesting that information like inside of our bellies, inside of our heart. That's where we start to get information that gets fed back up. And Jules, you can correct me here with like all the neuroscience here, but it gets fed back up from the heart and the belly into the whole of our mind and gets digested and integrated. And that's part of how we take in information about the world. So when you look at me as I'm sharing this information with you and I'm watching your face and I'm checking to see, oh, is Vicky getting it? Am I making sense? And
Yes
I'm reading
and no.
that info, right? And so I'm seeing that and I'm digesting that yes and no, like in my heart and my belly. And so my heart and my belly are starting to like get a sense of, okay, wait, how is this landing? How connected are we right now? Is this off? Is this not off? Am I okay? Am I not okay? It's giving me information about like, do I feel like we're getting each other and there's a match,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And from NeuroGeek land, I just want to add in for folks who are neuro nerds out there like me. Yeah, it's not just heart and belly. Absolutely, the whole lower brain is involved, midbrain, thalamic system, subcortical systems, and there's a communication that's really rapid that's happening between that embodied central nervous system and heart and belly and visceral areas and that subcortical brain dancing together through that plus your history and all of that is creating whatever your map is, right?
Right.
Oh, by the way, we could avoid conflict because it hasn't gone particularly well in this relationship. So it may not even be from our history only, right? That could be part of it. But also inside this relationship, if we end up with discord with no repair or where it feels really, really hard to get through those conversations, or they last until 5 a.m. most times when we have them, or we had a little snit of a moment, that kind of, and then we didn't talk for 3 days. Ouch. Right?
And why would I bring it up? Why would I allow for conflict?
Why on earth would I add more?
Things happened. It's not worth it.
Right.
And then there's also the history, right? Because we're both coming with different histories into this relationship. And one of us might come in with a history that says something like, oh, we know how to do conflict. That's not such a hard thing. We can try. But the other might come in with a history that says something like, we avoid this at all costs. We don't do it. Or if we do it, it's going to have these other hard costs. Or here's all the reasons why conflict is bad. Or right. Like there's so many different kinds of histories that everybody can be coming in with that we're not necessarily starting at the same place again. Right? Our nervous systems have different starting points.
Yeah. And so often having a meta conversation about the potential of bringing in differences, right? Into a more normal part of our lives. One, hey, do we both want that? How much is it scaring you? How much is it stressing you out? Right? Not everybody resonates with the language scared. And maybe you resonate with like, it stresses me out too much when we fight. So I just don't bring it up. Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
That sounds like how most people
I'd rather
talk,
just get along,
at least in my office. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. Right. Okay. So it stresses you out too much. Okay. So let's pause and look together at the cost and benefits of our choice to not bring up the conflict, right? We can even have a logical conversation about it if you want, in addition to a heart-led conversation about it, is okay, let's play this forward. 5 years from now, if we continue to not bring this up, what's the cost to us? What's the cost to me as an individual if I don't bring my voice into this conversation? What's the cost to our connection? Where does this lead us? What's the potential benefit of bringing this up? All of that could be part of this meta conversation, right? And what are the potential costs of having more discordant conversations, right? Because I think that's why it's stressing us out, is because it's freaky in some way. Okay,
it's taking an energy that we're not sure we have.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, Jules, like you were saying,
some neuroscience.
Yeah, I like how you called it. What did you call it? NeuroGeek land. I like that term. We can use that term. I like that. So go for it.
Neuro nerds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. So I want to drop some neuroscience on this for a little bit. The brain, whether we like it or not, does this weird thing where it gauges a hard thing that's close to us in time as worse than a hard thing that's further away from us in time, regardless of how painful each one of those things are actually.
So we weight the closer thing as harder.
The closer thing is harder every time. So let's say in this moment, I have a disagreement with my husband. And bringing it up would be stressful and kind of gross feeling. And that feels terrible. Now, the potential consequence of me not bringing it up, if indeed it's a bigger thing, or it doesn't even have to be a bigger thing, but a bigger thing to me, like the consequence of me not bringing this thing up down the line is feeling like I lose myself, like I've betrayed me, like he doesn't know me, like, oh, we just don't talk about this subject anymore. Now we have entire areas of our world that are just not discussed between us.
Yeah.
I have most people that come into my office come in at that point where they've already gotten there. Right. But they don't necessarily come into my office going, oh, that's not where I want to get to. Right. Like that's what you're talking about the cost.
Exactly.
We push it down the line, we push it down the line, we push it down the line. And then we find ourselves in these places where we have betrayed ourselves, where we have moved away from or disconnected from parts.
I don't know that
exactly.
most of my couples, or me even like me 3 years ago, could have even articulated the cost.
Right.
Like I probably would have thought there won't be a cost. Everything will be fine. It's fine right now. Like we just won't have this conversation. We just won't have this fight.
Have this
and
one.
then we like float off into the clouds.
Yeah. We got to play it forward a little bit.
But like, can I just bring an analogy to us for a minute? It's like, we could take anything global. Let's go with global warming. Right? Like, oh yeah, I don't need to recycle. I don't need to think about these things. I don't need to. And, here we are. Our planet's feeling an effect.
Yeah.
We've all avoided, right?
Eventually.
Like, right.
The eventual cost is potentially enormous, but your brain cannot see that. And so once we know that,
it's hard to digest.
Well, yeah, sure. Well, once we know this, then we can set ourselves up for success. Because when we're having this conversation, by the way, we're hoping that you do. Oh, let's talk about how we avoid conflict in our relationship and the potential costs of, especially when one of us only is avoiding the conflict. You know what ends up happening is the partner who's willing to voice it more looks like a bad guy.
Yeah.
Even though you're both upset. But one person's taking all the heat.
Why do you keep bringing up
for
all
being
the bad
the squeaky
stuff?
wheel? There's a relational cost to your whole dynamic going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're in that conversation, even inviting ourselves into that conversation is to say yes to facing this brain difficulty. And when we do face this brain difficulty, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up some sort of oomphy big why, right? Of why on earth are we inviting conflict conversations into our world? And it has to be big enough to counter whatever squigglies, hell no to stress voices you've got inside that are going to stop you from bringing it up.
Yeah.
Because your brain will continue to avoid the here and now pain. I promise you. You have to set yourself up for success here. And just knowing it is not enough. You have to actually remember it in the moment so that you will open your mouth and say, oh, ouch, that did not feel good to your partner. So you have to do something on the front end to prepare yourself and support yourself to make it over the hump of that hard moment where your brain is absolutely not going to want to have this conversation.
You know how I like to think about it? One of the costs of avoiding throughout our lives is that we disconnect from ourselves in many ways throughout our lives and betray ourselves in those ways. And we land in a place where we discover that later. So one of the ways that I think about this is that if I want to do a little prevention work so that I'm not ending up in that place later on, then one of the first things that I do in a lot of situations is turn towards me and check in with me and what's happening inside here. Because then I'm not leaving myself. I'm not running the risk of betraying me if I'm checking in with me first.
Yeah. So yeah, these are big conversations, meta conversations. And and conversations between you and you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
To
it's,
give you
this
the
is,
oomph you need. Yeah. What were you going to say?
well, I was just going to say, this is stuff that we'll touch on in our workshop. So I hope
Yeah.
folks consider joining us there.
Yeah, we'd love to see you there.
Mhm.
All
We'd
right.
love to like not just see you there, but help you embody some of this there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Put
Right?
it into practice.
Yeah. You can have a felt
Yeah,
sense
yeah.
of it. You'll really understand it better then. Anyway,
Yeah.
take care, y'all. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner? We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show. To go deeper, join us at one of our workshops. You'll find our next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you can ask us your questions? Your questions are relational gold. Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.
And here are some gratitudes. Thanks to Al Hoberman, our sound editor and podcast production magic maker, our audio intern, Cole Rickman, and to every one of you who has joined us for our workshops in the past. We've learned so much from all of you.
If you're enjoying these conversations, please subscribe, rate, and especially please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Thanks so much for listening to Why Does My Partner? Take care of each other best you can.
See you next time.